All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hop right in. This is the Q&A for the Post-Thru hike. You guys ask the questions and I'll give my unfiltered, honest response to all. It is a beautiful, sunny day. It is super hot here in Kansas. It's about 95 degrees. So we got a little breeze that's trying to cool us off, but it's not doing much. So we'll hop right in. The first question is from Ronnie D. If you started again, would you change the time of year that you began? And my answer is no. If anything, I would have started a week sooner. I'm glad I didn't this year, and that's because they experienced a very, very cold day where the real feel was like 2 degrees, and some people had to get off trail. But I think I would have risked it just to start a little sooner, and that was to get ahead of the bugs, and then also to finish by my deadline, which was July the 5th. Next is from Eric. How many days of hiking and how many 0 days? I took 18 0 days and 113 days of hiking. All in all, it was 131 days total. Next question from John. Who was the most memorable person or people on the trail? Without a doubt, it's got to be Bighorn, Frankenstein, and also Fresh Ground. Stilts, Silly, and Rooster were some others that I hiked with, and they're unforgettable people, part of an unforgettable journey as well. Next question is from my friends Rooster, Riblet, and Thunder. Was Rocksylvania the toughest part of the trail? And my response is no. The toughest part was the Whites and Southern Maine. I knew they were going to be tough, but they were some butt kicker days for sure. Next question from Bill. Do you plan to vlog future adventures? And my answer is yes. Why not? I love to create memories that I can look back on, and then also show those to you all. I do have an adventure coming up, and I'll talk about that shortly. So my answer is yes. What's next, the PCT or the CDT? That's a question from Kate. I had a couple other people ask that as well. So if you ask that question, this is your response, or my response to you. I would like to do them both in the future, but probably going to take a little break, and it'll be maybe 3 to 5 years from now. I don't know which one I'll do, the CDT or the PCT first. Does the idea of maybe doing a Triple Crown, is it in my mind? Yes, it absolutely is, especially after doing the toughest one, the AT. Next question, Sparky1. He's got a couple questions. What was the highlight for you? I think the highlight for me came early on, and in me gaining confidence when I hit the goal of getting to Neal Gap, which was mile 31. And then when I got out of Georgia and hit the North Carolina border, and when I got to Franklin, North Carolina, hitting these small goals and realizing that, I'm gaining confidence, I can do this. That was a highlight for me. And then also the support from everyone. It would have been so much more difficult alone. With Colleen's support, with my family's support, with the support from strangers. It would have been so much harder to do this solo. And I'm grateful for all the help that I received. Sparky1 asked, what was the hardest day? The hardest day for me was the hike back into Hot Springs. When I shuttled up and walked back to Hot Springs, this was the night, the day after I got food poisoning, or what I think was food poisoning from the Smoky Mountain Diner. Sorry Smoky Mountain Diner. I'm sure you have great food, but it did not go well for me. But that was absolutely the toughest day. There were tears, and I think if you recall that video, I thought about, this is tough for me in this moment, but the people in Hot Springs and the people of Irwin, Tennessee, and the people all in that region who experienced the effects of Hurricane Helene, this is nothing compared to what they've gone through. Did you make any new friends? Yes, and I alluded to that a little bit ago. Bighorn, Frankenstein, Stilts, Rooster, Silly, and Fresh Ground, of course. So yes, absolutely, and many others that will text me, or I'll text them, and we'll just keep in touch. What made you want to hike the AT from Sparky1? I did talk about this in an early video. It was planned in 2016. It just didn't pan out. And, I grew up within eyesight of the AT. I think I talked about when I looked out from the hill that I grew up on, I could see basically it was the pre-shelter around mile 831 on the AT. I had no idea, but for some reason it always called to me. I always found my way back to White Blazes, and for me it was a bucket list item I always wanted to do. What was the longest day you went without a shower? This is from Turtle Sail, and 6 days. That was the longest. But within that 6 days, I think I was jumping in some creeks, rivers, and lakes. Will you keep making videos, and what's the next adventure? My next adventure, I'm going to Montana. I'm going to fish a river. I'm not going to tell you what river, but I'm going to be fishing a river in Montana with my good friend Matt, and I am going to document it, and I'm going to make another video for that fishing trip, and that's coming up relatively soon. That'll be mid-August. That video should be released. Some gear questions. What was your most important piece of gear that you took with you? This was from Ronnie D. It was my shelter system, and then also my water filter. You know, it's one of those things that's overlooked, but if you're not drinking fresh water, you might get sick. And so those are just 2 items. The tent, the Marmot tent, the waterproofing ability failed, and I had to switch out to that nature hike. I'm glad I had the nature hike. That's a tent Colleen and I have used a lot in the past. I love it because there's no stress when you set it up, and if it's going to storm. There was that one night that it rained 4 inches, and I think either New Hampshire or Maine, and I stayed dry. So that was great. Let's see here. What do we got? Did you get rid of anything besides changing tents? Yes, I got rid of my thermal layers. I got rid of a pullover. What else? Oh, paracord and sunscreen. I don't think I wore sunscreen at all on the trail. I just wore that pullover to keep the sun off me. Did you have to replace any gear? From Sparky1. Yes, trekking poles, but I knew that going into it. I lost a shirt at the baseball field shelter in New York on a drying rack. It had rained. I left it there. I had an extra shirt, and then next morning I took off and I left it. So I got that Jolly Gear shirt when I was in Vermont, and then I left a pocket knife on it was a hotel bedside table, and I left it there. The next morning I left, and then I called and I said, hey, don't freak out when your housemates go and look in the room because there's a pocket knife on the table. So I lost that. What were the best shoes? This is a question from Jack. The Adidas Terex Free Hikers 2.0. They were not Gore-Tex, but I love those shoes. They were amazing, and I went through 4 pairs. I could have made it in probably 3 pairs, but I started in a pair that already had like 300 miles on them. I think I showed those in my gear review video, and they still, compared to the shoes that I finished in, they were in good condition. I probably could have got some more out of those. Did you have a support team handling logistics? This is from Jack. No, I did not. I would plan out the day in my tent the night before and kind of just go from there. When the logistics were involved was when I was getting a ride from a shuttle or from a hostel, and then my parents through the Shenandoahs, just letting them know, hey, you know, I'm an hour out from wherever you want to pick me up. And then also with Colleen, whenever she visited, letting her know, you know, what my ETA was whenever she was picking me up from a trailhead. What was my favorite section along the AT? This is from Kathy. New Hampshire. New Hampshire. The moment you leave Hanover, where Dartmouth College is, and then you get to the main border, that whole section, the state of New Hampshire, was incredible. Was it tough? Yes, but it was unlike anything else I'd ever experienced. It was like the Eastern Rockies. My least favorite section, also from Kathy, just because it was so unexpectedly difficult, and I got sick at one point through here. It was the area west of Blacksburg, Virginia, where you're hugging the West Virginia border, the Parisburg to Daleville section. Because if you recall, I got sick around McAfee Knob. Like everybody was getting sick around there. I think it's something in the water. Everybody wants to say it's norovirus. I don't think it's norovirus. I think it's something in the water. Even if you filter it, I think that you're gonna get sick. That's just my conspiracy theory. But everybody was getting sick around there. Somebody else said, "What kind of work do you do, Deb?" Thank you for the question, Deb. I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've worked in athletics, I've worked at Trader Joe's. I do have an interview coming up for a position within the school system, so we'll see. Who knows what's next. What are some long hikes that you've done? This is from Deb. Honestly, this was the first. I had done 20 to 25 mile days. I knew it was doable, but I wasn't sure if it was, if I'd be able to keep it up consistently long term. But throughout this hike, I found out pretty quickly that I could do it, and stretching helped a lot, which I'll talk about with you here in a little bit. What weight fishing rod and what flies, and did you ever consider a Tenkara rod from JN? I did consider a Tenkara rod, but I also knew with that I wasn't going to be able to cast out. My roll cast is decent, and I don't have a Tenkara rod. So I used a 5 weight, and mostly I was throwing streamers, parachute Adams dry flies, a couple elk hair caddis, and then hare's ears. Bead at the head, hare's ears. That's mostly what I was throwing. Next question is from Ronnie. You always sounded positive. Did you ever feel like quitting? My answer is no. I had tough days, but I never felt like quitting. This was something that I wanted to do for so long. There was no desire to ever quit. Next question from Eric. How do you plan to reincorporate yourself back into society? I enjoy helping others, and I enjoy being a supportive spouse. So if I can find a job where I can focus on both of those, it's going to be a great next couple years here in Manhattan, Kansas. And then also planning future adventures, keeping my mind and body active. Those are things that I've always done, and I'll continue to do so. Has the past 131 days changed you and your priorities in any way? From Donald. Yes. I have a renewed faith in humanity thanks to all the help that I received along the way from complete strangers, not only helping me, but helping other strangers, other hikers along the way. And then it's asking myself constantly, how can I pay it forward? What can I do to make things a little bit easier for other hikers coming through? Or just giving basic information to anybody coming through, whether it be the river crossings and or down trees. So yeah, the answer is yes. Will the person heading back to Kansas be different than the Nick who headed to Springer? And this is a question, I'm sorry, I forgot to put your name down. If this is your question, here's the answer. Yes and no. Same person, same drive, same consistency, but able to appreciate and be grateful for the experience and the people that I encountered along the way. What was the hardest part? This is from Bluegrass Bodhisattva. Hiking while sick. Those were some tough days. Luckily, I only got sick 2 times, but thank you to Imodium. Thank you to Colleen for just giving me support, whether it just be me talking. It's like, hey, I am struggling right now. I just need to hear the love in your voice. I just need some love right now. So that was the toughest. Best memory, and this is Bluegrass Bodhisattva as well, the next 2 questions. Best memory was meeting Bighorn and Frankenstein on day 3. Average pack weight, my pack weight was usually around 38 to 40 pounds. I told you I was going heavy, and I was heavy. I actually picked up my fly rod later on and got even heavier. What did you find unexpectedly difficult? This is from Jonathan. How miserable I was hiking in the rain. I knew that I was going to get wet. I knew it was going to rain, but my goodness. There were some days when it was raining and it was getting on the lens, and you'd have to stop and wipe the lens down, and a couple times it just was a little bit blurry. I was to the point where I didn't want to film. But this is something I wanted to share with you all, and something that I knew I'd be able to look back on. So when I'm watching the videos, I'm gonna know those days where I was feeling like I don't want to film today, but I did. So that's the answer to that one. Was it hard to keep the positive attitude up finding Texas? Only on the rainy days, and only on the days I left my family or left Colleen. Those were the days that I felt like it was pretty tough to be positive, But I knew that things were going to get better. It might suck in that moment, but things were going to get better. What was your worst injury and how did you overcome it? This is from Dirt Bike Kentucky Trails. The blisters on my toes. When I got those things, I was trying to treat them and make sure they didn't get infected. And so I was just treating them every day, putting KT tape and Neosporin in the tent, and then wrapping each one individually. I called it my daily pedicure. where I'm putting KT tape over each individual toe so they're not rubbing anymore. But when they got wet, they were wet, you know, all day, and they're not getting dry until you're in the tent at night and you take everything off. And that was the worst injury. And if that's the worst injury, then I was fortunate and blessed. What advice or tips do you have for thru hikers when it comes to family back home? These were questions for Mrs. Rabbit, and I got all these responses last night. And this is from Amy. The communication and sending updates, taking pictures, and mailing postcards. For Colleen as well, from Amy. What do families back home need or want from their thru hiker? Her response was, it's hard to be separated from the people you love who are doing this really cool thing. Pictures and videos helped a lot. This is from CAC, Indiana. Does everyone on trail stink? Her response is yes. My armpits would stink even after I showered. She would say that I just had this constant stench to me. So I think I've cured that thanks to deodorant and thanks to daily showers, but yes. Also from CAC, Indiana. What kept her calm and what were her ups and downs? Her response was tracking my location and then also check-ins through Garmin when I didn't have service. The ups were me hitting mileage milestones or getting to see a cool landmark that we'd seen in other videos or experienced in person together before. And then also getting to share the trail updates with anyone who would ask her about it while she was here in Kansas or out on the road recruiting. And then the downs was every time that she had to leave me on trail, which I was fortunate and blessed that she was able to come visit me as many times as she did. And then experiencing joyful things back home and not being able to share those with me, either because I didn't have service or I didn't have any context. You know, I wasn't here. I didn't get to experience those things the same way that she did. Question from Matt. Have you been in touch with Bighorn and Frankenstein? When did they summit? The answer is yes. Bighorn crushed some miles with Rooster, Silly, and Stilts, and he summited almost a week ahead of me. And then Frankenstein, he just summited yesterday. He sent me the summit picture. He was with two other hikers named Thing 1 and Thing 2. And I texted him back and said, we freaking did it, man. So I was very happy to see that. Lowell and Connie said, can you show us your stretching routine? The answer is yes. I'm going to do that at the end of the video because there's some people that probably don't care at all about that. And so if they want to completely skip that, they're more than welcome to. Do you watch any other thru hike channels? Todd. Not currently, but I have in the past. Chuck Howell was one of my favorite. He went by the name of Bandit when he was on trail. And kind of watching his, I somewhat modeled my filming style after him, but I wanted to focus more on the trail itself than having the camera on me and filming myself the whole time. You know, the focus was on the trail. But while I was on trail, you don't have time to watch other thru hikers while you're on trail. You know, you hike so many miles and then you get in the tent and then you're planning the next day and recapping this day, editing your videos. And by the time I was ready for sleep, I was ready for sleep. Why did you choose to video your trip? Patrice, I wanted to look back on it. So partially selfish reasons, but also I wanted to share it with friends and family. And then I also realized how many people were interested in this very cool thing, because there's only a limited number of people in the whole world that are doing what we're doing when we're out there. So yeah, that's the answer to that. How did you get info about the AT hostels, resupplies from far out or other resources? This is from Tanya. That bird is he's wanting to make an appearance in this video. If you remember, I planned this in 2016. I had a lot of time to do research and just plan this thing out. I would actually go through the AT guides. It was David Miller's AWOL, where I would go through the whole thing and in a spreadsheet map out every single day. And there was a time I thought I was going to be able to do it in 100 days, but I also realized my experience would have been a little bit more miserable had I done that. So Far Out, I can't recommend Far Out enough. For $75, you got access to the whole trail, and it was so helpful. Once you play around with it a little bit and figure out how it works, Far Out is so worth it. Can't recommend that enough. What stretches from Gina? End of the video, Gina. What was your favorite place that you fished from the Anticyst? The 0 day on the Pemigewasset in New Hampshire. I only fished for like an hour and a half, but I would go back in a heartbeat and fish that river for the brookies. You know, it's not the size of them, it's the beauty of those fish. I would go back in a heartbeat. How many ankle sprains or injuries from J. Lou? So many ankle rolls, and it's in that moment you're like, I might have a stress fracture, but you just keep walking and you shake it off. I would say I rolled my ankles probably 70 plus times at least. The knee aches, the back aches, you know, those are little things that you could get over. You know, some days my knees hurt a little bit more than others, but the stretching absolutely helped. Question from Maria: what knot did you prefer for anchoring your tent in high winds? I didn't. I used a freestanding tent. I used tent stakes on the rainfly to keep it secure, so I can't answer that one. What are your thoughts on having a compass or paper map on trail? Did you see anyone with these? Also from Maria. The answer is no. Don't bring them unless that is the experience that you want to have. If you are saying, I'm not going to use electronics, I want this experience to be different for me. If that's what you want personally, then go for it. For me, I had far out. I had external batteries to keep my electronics charged, so I didn't do that, and I don't think I saw anybody doing that as well. Is there depression without this clear goal every morning from Gary? No. The answer is no, but it's weird not hiking every day right now, so I've been running every day instead, and I think I need to run earlier because today it was so hot, and I just sweat my tail off. So answer is no. How much weight did you lose from Eamon? At one point I was down 20 pounds, and I finished down 15 pounds, and I've already put some weight back on. What is the process to get into Baxter State Park and the summit from Eamon? If you're on the trail, just stay on the trail and check in with the ranger station before you summit. But if you're driving or someone is meeting you with a car, then you need to have a parking pass for either the A-Ball lot or the Katahdin Stream lot. Passes are limited, and Colleen booked hers more than 2 months out. The cost for that is $10, and there is a $20 entrance fee. I had to move this because it's so hot, it's bending. This was the keypad to my iPad, so in case you were wondering what I was doing. What did you do to prepare for the hike from Elizabeth? Stretching, weightlifting, going to Castlewood State Park when we lived in St. Louis with my full pack and doing miles, mountain biking out there, shakedown on the Ozark Trail, 20 miles out, 20 miles back, just to get a feel for it. And then the mental preparation through podcast, whenever I was working out, running, you know, I was mentally preparing as well. Because you got to be real with your expectations versus reality. You know, you have this expectation, so we need this grand adventure, but the reality is you're going to be alone a lot of the time, and you got to be okay with the thoughts that are going on in your head, because if you're not, more than likely, you're going to end up off trail. What is my age, height, start weight, finish weight, and were you ever more mentally drained? From James. I'm 34, I'm 6 foot, I started at 202, I ended at 187. And then I think starting the day with a clear goal helped not to be so mentally drained. I looked forward to sleep each night because I was that exhausted. Why was I cautious to use the shelters? From Turtle Sail. The open-faced, the lean-tos, the mice, the bugs. Why would I use that when I had this great freestanding tent? Well, maybe not when the marmot failed, but when I had the nature hike tent. I loved my tent more, so that's why. Is it weird being back in the real world? From Robin. I think it's a little too soon to answer that question. I want to say no, because I have so many things here that I love. Colleen and the dogs. I was so excited to get back to the dogs. I looked forward to that so much. What did you think about all day? This is from Vicky King. Thank you, Vicky, for the question. I would literally make up the stupidest songs and ditties in my head in the mornings when I got rolling, and I would sing those. Sometimes out loud, most of the times out loud, but for like 2 hours until I got bored of that, and then I would think about literally everything. You know, Colleen, my family, my future, my past, people that have passed on, memories, good and bad, literally so many things. I don't even know where to start. I thought about everything, literally everything. What was your video editing process like? This is from Outdoors with John USA, who is planning a through hike, so give him a subscription and follow him. At night, I would go through all of my videos and pictures and favorite them. Then I would open iMovie and add all the pictures and videos. Once they were in there, then I would edit them. Some of the times I did not have good enough service to upload. This was a lot of the times. And so I had to either wait until I got a hostel or a hotel and then upload. And the example is in the 100-mile wilderness. I didn't post for like 4 or 5 days, and people were wondering, what happened? What's going on? I didn't have service. I couldn't upload. So while you're out there, you know, it's not just a given that you have service. You're in SOS mode some of the time, and you're not going to be able to upload until then. But iMovie was free, and it was something I was familiar with. Could the editing of the videos been a little bit better? Sure. I tried adding music early on, and then I found that just to be a grueling process that was a pain in the butt, so I just stopped adding music to it. Maybe I'll do that in the future through a different editing software. And then lastly, what was your budget? This is from Sparky1, and I want to tell you, I went over budget. My final budget was $7,425.64. So that's that, and I'll make up for it, and we'll be fine. But yeah, it's unfiltered. That's what it was. And then I'll go ahead and show you my stretching routine inside. Thanks, guys. All right. Here is the stretching routine, unfiltered, and I may have a dog or two wander in at some point. So every morning I would get out of the tent, I would put down my Thermarest pad, and I'd do 15 arm circles forward, 15 arm circles backwards, 16, I call them Michael Phelps, just slapping my back. Then I would do 10 high knees, both sides, and then I would do an open the gate, 10 each side, and then I would do 10 butt kickers each side. Actually, I would reach out just for, I guess they call this traction, so I'm pulling my lower back a little bit apart when I'm doing that. Then I would kind of just reach down and touch my toes. It was mostly about how am I feeling right now. Am I super tight? Am I not? I would hold it a little bit longer if I was super tight. And then sometimes I would reach up to the sky and act like you're scratching your knuckles on the back of a chalkboard, just to loosen up a little bit. Some neck rolls, just feeling good. Then I'd go down into somewhat of a squat, but I'd be up on the balls of my feet. And this kind of eliminated some plantar fasciitis that I was experiencing early on. I would kind of wobble back and forth for about 15 seconds. Then I'd get up, and then my heels would be on the ground, and I'd go down into a deep squat. While I did a deep squat, I'm kind of looking up at the sky or trees, and just holding this for about 15 seconds. If you wanted to add something to it, I'd reach out one way and just kind of feel it right there in my lats and whatnot. So about 15 seconds. Then I would go down into, I guess, a downward dog, which Manny is doing a great job of right now. And I just go back and forth on my feet. Get a little calf stretch right there. So about 15 seconds there. Then I would go into a lunge, and I do ankle rolls for about 10 seconds or so. And then I go down, I'd extend my foot out, and I hold this for about 15 seconds. And from here, I would do 5 of these. So I'm just reaching back through my arm and then reaching up to the sky, and I want to be perpendicular to the ground. So I do those both sides, 10 seconds, hold, and then back up right here, reach into the sky. From there, I would go into, I guess, I don't know what position this is. I'm not a yoga expert. But I'd go right here, and I'd hold this for about 20 seconds, and I'd rock back and forth a little bit. Again, just kind of feeling, how do I feel right now? From here, I think this is called cat-cow. So I'm breathing out, and then I'm breathing in. And this is just your lower back, I think. is what it's working on, or stretching out. And I do about 6 or 7 of those every morning. And from here, I can rock back, and now I'm stretching some other parts of my calf, maybe the front of my calf. My feet are fully extended here, and I'm just leaning back, usually about 15 seconds. Then I would do some push-ups. I did 100 push-ups every day. Every day on trail or off trail, my 0 days, I did 100 push-ups. So it didn't matter what time of the day I did them. I could do them all at once, or I could split them up throughout different parts of the day. After doing some push-ups, I would just go into butterfly, kind of rock here for a little bit, see how I'm feeling. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing that I did carry with me, I carried this little band that I inherited at some point along the way, and I would use this to do, I'd wrap it around my butt, and then I go 15 straight out, 15 palms facing outward, and then I'd come back behind my back, 15, and then 15, and then 15, and then I would do 25 curls, and then I would do 15 and 15 each side with a tricep extension. So my background is in athletics and trying to be as physically fit as I can be without getting crazy with it. But that's the stretches. That's what I did every morning. And then at night, I would do most of all of that, but some of the things at night that I would do to keep my ankles flexible. Sterling and his wife Karen showed me this one. It's a knee hold, but I am writing with my ankle every uppercase letter of the alphabet. So that greatly helped because I was experiencing some Achilles soreness a lot early on. I would do that stretch, both legs, every night, all the way A through Z at one point, or at one time, and that decreased the pain that I was having. Another stretch I did at night was this one right here. This was my hip flexor, 15-second hold each leg. That helped out a lot with some hip soreness. And then the butt kickers, instead of doing butt kickers, I'll do a 15-second hold each leg. And then after that, I would do a 15 to 20-second a reach with a hold, just for some balance and just trying to make myself feel a little bit better for the next day, you know. That was basically the end of my stretching. So 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, 15 to 20 minutes before I crawled in my bed at night. It could be any time, maybe while my food's cooking. That was the most efficient time to do it. But there you have it, the stretching video. All right, thank you guys, and have a good one.